Hello, hello, everyone. Happy Monday. I feel like the weekend went by too fast. I hope everyone had a great weekend. I hope people were able to relax. I know there's a lot of different things going on in the world. So, hopefully, everyone had a good weekend. Everyone got some rest and filled up their cup, so to speak, with positive things. When you pop into the live, be sure to say hello if you're new to the channel, where you're from. We are going to be going over the end of trial day 3. We covered it all the way up until towards the end of the day, probably around 2 o'clock, right when the medical examiner was called to testify. Before that even came out, what they testified to, we hopped off just because I did not realize they were going to go until 6 p.m. And we had been on for like almost 3 hours. So we're going to just recap what happened at the end of trial day 3 on Saturday. And then we're going to start going over what has gone on today in trial day 4. Hello, welcome in. For anybody who's new to the channel, hello. I hope you guys are having the best day. It's definitely feeling like a Monday this week for me. Last week felt like it flew by like this. I couldn't even believe, like, when it was Thursday, I was like thinking it was Monday or Tuesday. So this week definitely feels like Monday. Have a deep respect for Texas judicial system. Saltberry Apothecary. Hello, welcome in. Yes, I definitely think that this is a wild time in that part of Texas. And yeah, mad props to the judge. He's a very Judge Roach. They say he's very respected, well liked as well. A lot of people have good things to say about him. So that he's very fair and so on and so forth. So that's good. Hi, Kathleen, St. Louis. How are you? I hope your weather's okay. I know the Midwest is going to be getting some storms, I believe. If they haven't started yet, I think by tonight you guys are supposed to have some crazy storms. They're talking about, I think even in the Midwest, like tornadoes and stuff. Some bad weather. So we're just going to jump right into this because I also know that there's a lot of people who follow me for obviously Charlie Kirk, and Candace Owens will be going live at some point today. So I don't want to run into, her live. So unfortunately today I was not feeling good. I had a little bit of a headache. So we're off to a late start, but we are here. So I am going to just read from my printout just because for right now I prefer to read from the printout of what went on at the end of trial on day 3. Again, this is going to be from the medical examiner being called onward, and then we will jump into what's going on with day 4. We're going to be looking at Sarah Fields' coverage. She has been inside the courtroom every day so far, and she's got some great coverage aside from the news media. We had tornadoes this morning and rain. It's cleared up some for now. I'm glad you're okay. I'm praying for everybody that they're safe. So at 1:53 p.m., this is around the time that we stopped on Saturday. Again, I had no idea that they were going to go till 6 p.m. I think that the judge obviously wants to keep rolling. There was a ton of witness testimony that was going on the prosecution side, something like 35 witnesses between, coaches, other kids that were at the meet, then the 10 to 15 kids you have that were under the tent. So they had a lot of witness testimony to get through. At the end of the day, Saturday, the prosecution rested, and now the defense is going over their case. So we'll see how that's starting to look because I have not been able to look into that yet. So we have state calls Collin County's chief medical examiner to the stand. The prosecution called, by the way, I'm getting this information this is from NBC. I was using CBS, and then I had somebody right under my live that because I read from CBS that the knife was 5 inches long, that I was not an honest, fair journalist, even though we're not allowed in the courtroom. So how can I attest to what's actually being shown if this is what is being reported? And then another news station says 3.5 inches long, and I'm reading from the one that says 5. What do you want me to do? Like, am I supposed to go through every single one while we're live and jump around? You just can't make everyone happy. Anyways, when you guys first get in the live, please be sure to like the live. I appreciate you guys. It helps push the live into the algorithm, helps the channel. It breaks my heart, especially since Austin looks so much like my 18-year-old son. It's so sad. It is heartbreaking. 17 years old. It's all horrible. So the prosecution called Dr. Elizabeth Ventura, Collin County's chief medical examiner, to the stand. Judge John Roach warned spectators in the gallery to exit if they wanted to due to the content of the upcoming testimony. Austin Metcalf's mother, Megan, was seen leaving the courtroom. From Sarah Field, she left rather quickly. I guess the brother as well. The dad was going to stay, but then the prosecutor ended up kind of like nudging him, like, I think you need to leave. Anyway, so prosecutor Bill Worski signaled for the rest of the family to leave, as well as Austin's friends. Austin's friends, I believe, stayed. They chose to stay. Ventura, who is a medical examiner, explained that her duties include performing autopsies and determining. Oh, guys, I'm going to pause really quick. I will read all super chats and everything at the end, so don't worry, I will get to those. I appreciate everybody who super chats, who joins the membership for the channel and supports the channel. You guys are helping out a small channel to grow and be able to create better content for you guys, go to trials live myself. So all of that is going to be going to good use. So I appreciate all of you, and those of you, I know that it's an expensive time in life right now. Everything is expensive. So just liking the content and commenting and sharing the channel is all appreciated. So she explained that her duties include performing autopsies and determining the cause and manner of violent deaths in Collin County. She testified that her office got involved in this case because there was a suspected homicide. Ventura described Austin as seemingly healthy, says he was 6'1" and weighed about 213 pounds. She began to describe the autopsy, saying that when conducting an external exam, she noted that Austin's body was in a hospital gown that has his hands and feet bagged. She testified that she also found a stab wound to his chest. She said the wound perforated both the chest bone and the sac that surrounds the heart, which is the pericardium, and penetrated the right ventricle of the heart. Because the knife wound was through the heart, Ventura told the jury that she removed the heart and studied it. She noted that the wound was oval shaped and 2 inches in length, describing it as gaping. Ventura told the jury that knives can make 2 types of wounds shaped like slits and wounds shaped like ovals. Austin's wound was shaped like an oval. She said the path of the wound went through the cartilage of the sternum, penetrated the heart and the right ventricle, and completely went through the heart wall. Several autopsy photos, state exhibits 80 through 83 were admitted into evidence. The defense objected to exhibits 82 and 83, but Judge Roach overruled the objection. Exhibit 80 showed a stab wound to Austin's chest. Ventura testified that the kind of wound to Austin's chest was not survivable. According to NBC5's Maria Guerrero, who is inside the Collin County Courthouse, several jurors appeared to have emotional reactions to the autopsy photos. Worski showed Ventura a replica blade of the one used in the unaliving and asked if that knife was capable of making that wound on Austin. She said it was. She said the official cause of death was ruled as a homicide. On cross-examination, Ventura explained that the penetration depth of the knife was about 2.5 inches. The total length of the knife was about 3.5 inches. The defense briefly questioned Ventura about whether it was possible for Austin to have impaled himself on Karmelo's knife when he pushed Karmelo on direct. Ventura explained that this impaling scenario is 1 in 1,000, and that because the depth of the wound is shorter than its length, it is unlikely. Then they put that the state rests after jury sees images from Austin Metcalf's autopsy. After jurors saw the photos of Austin, his autopsy following the unaliving at Frisco track meet in April of 2025, the state rested their case. The defense moved for a direct verdict, arguing that the state failed to present sufficient evidence and did not prove Karmelo's intent. Worski said the state had provided every element. Judge Roach denied the motion. So basically, they said, hey, listen, the state failed to prove their case. So can we just drop the case in general and he gets off? They didn't prove beyond a reasonable doubt. And the judge denied that. Court resume, can't talk today. Court resumes. Defense calls for first witness, Centennial High School track coach. When trial resumed shortly after 3 p.m., the defense called their first witness, Adam Linwood. He is the football and track coach at Centennial High School. Linwood told the jury that he has worked at Centennial for 8 years. He was an assistant track coach before being hired as the head track coach. He also coaches running backs on the football team. Defense attorney Mike Howard asked Linwood to describe track culture. Linwood said it was a player-led sport and described it as organized chaos. Are you aware of a policy at that time of players not being allowed or expected not to go into other teams' areas? Howard asked regarding tent culture and track meets. As you guys know, tent culture is a big topic in this case. As far as, should you be in someone else's area, should you not be, and how all that works. Linwood said he was not. He said he had seen students go into other teams' tents before because track meets are social and students are also there to make friends. He said students would mingle in the downtime between events. Linwood testified that going into another team's tent is not something that students would be kicked out for, and that he was not aware that other schools had policies about going into other teams' tents. He explained that since this unaliving, Centennial's policy has changed and students must now stay in their team's tents, or stay with their teams, rather. A picture was shown in court showing Karmelo Anthony as co-captain of the football team in 2024. Linwood explained that when Karmelo suffered a shoulder injury during the season and had his arm in a sling, he still showed up to practices and games. Howard asked Linwood about the day of the unaliving, specifically regarding Centennial's tent. Linwood said they did not take many kids to the meet, so they didn't have the manpower to put up both tents. Linwood and Karmelo's events were early enough in the morning that it made sense for him to be at the meet. On cross-examination, prosecutor Bill Worski asked Linwood why Centennial did not have a tent at the meet on April 2nd, 2025. Linwood said they did, but that it was on the bus behind them. He said the bus did not get there in time to put the tent up. Linwood testified that he was outside the stadium at the time of the incident and acknowledged that there was a no weapons policy at track meets. Linwood agreed that there was a zero tolerance policy regarding weapons. I assume it was shocking to know that one of your athletes, STABBB, you can figure out the rest, someone in the chest. Worski said, yes, sir. Linwood said, Linwood testified that Karmelo should have been on the field warming up during the April 2nd track meet and agreed that he should not have been on the bleachers. What happened that day shouldn't have happened. What happened that day shouldn't have happened. That should have happened, right? Worski said. Linwood said, right. Worski showed Linwood the knife used in the unaliving and asked Linwood if it was a cleat sharpener. Linwood replied it was not. On direct, Howard clarified that the defense did not force Linwood to be there. Linwood agreed that they did not. Howard also asked if Linwood knew Coach Starr at Frisco Memorial, and Linwood agreed that he did not. At 4:04, the defense called an 18-year-old Centennial High School graduate to the stand. The defense called a former student at Centennial High School to the stand. He told the jury that he will be attending Collin College to earn his degree in business. The witness testified that he has lived in Frisco since kindergarten and that he too has a twin brother. He said he knew Karmelo Anthony, called him Mello, and even considered him a friend. The witness said that they ran track and played football together, then went on to explain the culture difference between the two sports. In track, you can walk around. The defense is trying to establish that track is super relaxed, like super chill, basically, where you're hanging around a lot and spending time under other people's tents. On cross-examination, prosecutor Bill Worski brings up the witness's twin brother. I assume you love him, Worski said. The witness shakes his head. The witness said he had previously gone under Memorial High School's tent with Karmelo. You seem laid back. If someone asked you to leave, would you? Worski asked. Yes, sir, the witness answered. Ever carry a knife to a track meet? Worski asked. No, sir, the witness answered. So that was that conversation. The defense calls a 17-year-old Memorial High School student to the stand after they took their SATs that morning. The witness apparently ignored the defense's calls. Defense attorney Mike Howard asked, you were interviewed by the police department folk after the track meet incident? Yes, sir, the witness answered. You saw Karmelo walk up to the tent, Howard asked. Yes, sir, the witness answered. Eddie, it was clear to you Eddie knew Karmelo, Howard asked. Yes, sir, the witness answered. They greeted each other, shook hands, and talked, Howard asked. Yes, sir, the witness answered. He told police that Eddie called him over to the tent, Howard asked. Yes, sir, the witness answered. It is worth mentioning that Eddie never said that during his testimony and was not asked. You estimated for like 5 minutes, Howard asked. Yes, sir, the witness answered. The witness said he was below Eddie in the bleachers at the track meet. Do you recall the first person to say something to Karmelo? Howard asked. The witness said Hunter Metcalf said something first. This is different than another witness has said. Hunter was 2 rows below and to the right of the witness, according to him. Hunter is a big guy, Howard asked. You can say, the witness answers. The witness goes on to say Austin was a little bit bigger than his brother Hunter at the time of the unaliving. Do you recall Karmelo saying, I'm Mello, who are you? Howard asked. No, sir, the witness answered. Howard then asked the witness to confirm that he told police that Hunter didn't tolerate being disrespected. Yes, sir, the witness answered. The witness then explains that Hunter started telling Karmelo to leave with a moderate tone that increased as the conversation continued. Howard then asks the witness to confirm that he told police that Karmelo said, nobody's got a problem with me being here but you. Yes, sir, the witness said. According to the witness, Austin was sitting around 5 rows down at the time. Was it more than just Hunter and Austin saying something? Howard asked. I would say it was just them, the witness answered. At some point, Austin stands up, Howard replies, or implies. Yes, the witness confirms. At some point, Hunter stands up, Howard implies. Late in the event, the witness said. Hunter started with a moderate tone, then got more aggressive. Loud question mark, Howard asked. A little more aggressive, the witness said. Howard asked about Austin's tone when he started talking. The witness described it as moderate. Do you recall telling police you heard Austin saying, you need to move or I'll beat your 3-letter word? You know what it is, Howard asked. I don't recall saying that. It wasn't an exact quote like what was asked, the witness answered. When Austin stood up, that's when you said you saw Karmelo reach into his bag, Howard asked. Yes, sir, the witness said. You understood that as a warning, back off, I've got something, question mark? Yes, sir, the witness said. Austin calls this bluff, saying, I know you don't have anything in that bag, Howard said. Yes, sir, the witness confirms. The back and forth between Austin and Karmelo continues with, because you're in Frisco, with Karmelo reportedly replying, I wouldn't say that, in a way that indicated he's serious. The defense asks the witness to confirm that in order for Austin to make his way towards Karmelo, he has to come up 5 bleacher rows. Yes, sir, the witness confirms. The defense asks the witness to confirm that before Austin's final move towards Karmelo, he's 2 rows below and he went up 1 row. Yes, sir, the witness confirms. Howard then asks, do you remember Karmelo says something like, as long as you don't touch me, we're cool. The witness answered something like that. You can see Austin tap Karmelo's shoulder, question mark, Howard asked. Yes, sir, the witness said. The witness then says he remembers something like, okay, you touched me, but as long as you don't punch me, we're cool. Howard then asked the witness in that split second that Karmelo takes his hand out of his bag. And of course, then it was tragic. Awful thing happened, question mark. Yes, sir, the witness answered. The defense passes on the witness. On cross-examination, prosecutor Bill Worski asked the witness if he knew Karmelo before the day of the unaliving. No, sir, the witness answered. Austin stepped in and took the lead to get him to leave the tent, Worski asked. Yes, sir, the witness answered. Worski says the witness previously told him that Karmelo said something like, make me. And when Karmelo put his hand in his bag, Austin didn't believe him. Karmelo said he wasn't from Frisco. Yes, sir, the witness confirmed. How did you take that? Worski asked. I thought he is capable of doing a violent act, the witness answered. To me, that's a big deal. This is a witness for the defense. So to me, this is a big deal. How did you take that? Worski said, I thought he was capable of doing a violent act. The witness answered, Austin didn't punch him, did he? Question mark asked Worski. No, sir, the witness answered. He was trying to just get a hold of him and move him out. You see the shove, you expect a shove back, question mark, said Worski. Yes, sir, the witness answered. It is revealed that the witness called 911. You didn't expect for there to be a, you know what, STAB, Worski asked. No, sir, the witness answered. The witness then goes on to demonstrate the act of that move on Worski. He moved one hand upwards towards Worski's chest as if doing an uppercut with the object. Who was in the wrong that morning? Worski asked. I think Karmelo was in the wrong, the witness answered. Karmelo provoked this, didn't he? Question mark. Worski asked. Yes, sir, the witness answered. The witness was excused, but is subject to recall. So that is how they ended day 3. All right. So now we are going to go ahead really quick and we're just going to jump into the updates. Today we're going to use NBC. I think that they're more detailed and maybe they're more accurate. I just don't want any issues. And I'm also going to share Sarah Field's work because she's done a lot of work and she's actually been in the courtroom and she's an independent journalist who's been covering this case for a while. So let's see. We have our stuff pulled up. Perfect. So trial began at 9 a.m. today. I wanted to give it time for all these updates to get going just because I feel like otherwise we're kind of sitting here waiting for updates. So basically it just said the defense is going to continue to call witnesses in this case. And so that was what was going to happen today. All right. So at about 9:12 in the morning, court begins on Monday morning. Defense calls 17-year-old Centennial High School student. They're not going to identify this person because this is a minor. Shortly after 9 a.m. on Monday, Judge John Roach entered the courtroom. For those who are new to the courtroom, I have a policy. You do not speak at all, whispering included. You'll be asked to leave and not allowed back in, Roach informed the gallery. After the jury was brought into the courtroom, defense attorneys called their first witness, a 17-year-old Centennial High School student. Defense attorney Mike Howard asked the witness about a conversation with detectives on April 2nd. The witness told the jury that he knew Karmelo Anthony from the football team because the two played the same position. He explained that on the day of the unaliving, he was not on the bus with his team. Karmelo was on the bus, he said. He explained that Karmelo was in a normal mood on the day of this entire thing. He said he spent a pretty decent amount of time with Karmelo, adding that no one knew what was going to happen because of the weather. The witness testified that he was sitting on the bleachers during the track meet on April 2nd and that he was part of the junior varsity team that day. Had you ever sat at another team's tent? Howard asked. The witness explained that he had never done it, but that he did not avoid it. The witness began explaining the events of April 2nd track meet to the jury. He said that after spending time in the baseball dugout because of the rain, he and Karmelo went to the field to put on their spikes and start warming up. He said that a short while later, he noticed Karmelo on the bleachers walking toward the Centennial tarp. He testified that once the rain started to pick up, he saw Karmelo under the Memorial High School tent. The witness said that things started to change when he heard louder voices than usual coming from the Memorial tent. He said that he would not classify the voices as yelling. He said he noticed that the front row of people were looking up towards Karmelo. The witness told police that at that time, he thought his teammate might need his help. He said he began to walk towards Karmelo when he saw a push. He said he didn't know who pushed Karmelo and that he just saw arms. He agreed that with Howard that there was a flaring of elbows and that he found it concerning. He told the jury that he wondered what caused the original push and whether Karmelo and Austin Metcalf were friends. According to the witness, following the push, it got super loud and people began standing up. He thought at the time that someone might have been stung by a bee. He said he did not see the actual act and that the next thing that happened was chaos. The witness said Austin started pulling up his shirt saying he had been, you know what? He said some people were trying to help him while others stayed frozen. He said he saw Karmelo running away from the scene, which he described as a light jog. He told the jury that he saw Karmelo crying and that a coach was comforting him and holding him. The witness said the best way to describe Karmelo's demeanor was distraught. He recalled hearing Karmelo say, "I told him not to touch me. Do you know if the shove was justified or not?" Howard asked. "No, sir," the witness said. "Do you know whether Karmelo's actions were justified or not?" Howard asked. "No, sir," the witness said. During cross-examination, prosecutor Bill Worski recalled a previous conversation he had had with the witness. "Do you remember the last question you and mom asked me? What do I do if the defense talks to me?" Worski asked. "Yes," the witness said. "Do you remember my answer?" Worski asked. That's okay if I do," the witness said. The witness also explained that he now acknowledged he got a few things wrong after seeing the video of the incident. The witness told the jury that he recalled saying that Karmelo was surrounded before the actual event happened. He acknowledged that after seeing the video, he knew that Karmelo was not actually surrounded prior to doing this to Austin Metcalf and that he was only surrounded after what happened. The witness told the jury that he had never brought a knife to a track meet, that he had never been under another team's tent, and that if he was under another team's tent, he would leave if he was asked to do so. On direct, Howard asked the witness if he used the word surrounded to refer to people forming a U shape around Karmelo prior to what happened. The witness agreed. "Did you see people around Karmelo?" Howard asked, referring to the moments before what happened. "Yes, sir, all under the tent," the witness said. During the witness recross examination, Worski said, "I don't mean to beat you up, but for over a year, what you thought was that your teammate was surrounded before what happened." He said, "Yes, sir." The witness said, "That changed once you saw the video," Worski said. He said, "Yes, sir." To the best of your ability, did you know that Karmelo was not on a relay team?" Worski asked. The witness said he was 99.9% sure that he was not. Did you know he was an alternate?" Worski asked. Coach Linwood previously testified that Karmelo was an alternate and that he was meant to be warming up and not in the bleachers at the time of what took place. Okay, so that was it looks like the first person to be questioned today when they went back to court this morning. Then we had defense calls Frisco police officer to the stand. This was at 10:34 a.m. Central Time. The defense called Officer Bayu Rai with the Frisco Police Department to the stand. Riley was called out to the stadium on April 2nd. He was assigned to assist with interviewing witnesses. He said he interviewed a witness who previously testified in this trial. That witness knew both Karmelo and Austin. Riley said he looked through the witness's phone, checking Snapchats, texts, and videos. He said he did not recall if he saw any deleted photos. Riley told the jury that he did not take the phone to be looked at. He testified that under Texas law, certain items are prohibited at specific locations. He said knives with blades under 5.5 inches are not illegal to have at a school stadium, but they are against school policy. Looks like defense calls Frisco High School senior to the stand. This is 10:39. We got that update. Again, this is a minor, so we do not know who this person is. Defense attorney Mike Howard called a 17-year-old student in Frisco ISD to the stand. The witness explained that he is entering his senior year and is committed to LSU. The witness told the jury that track meets are really social and that kids commonly go see each other under other team tents. The witness said he does not personally enter other teams' tents. The 17-year-old who was at the track meet on the day in question said that he saw that everybody was standing up, and all of a sudden I saw someone getting pushed or punched or something like that under the memorial tent. Howard and the witness discussed whether the kid that got hit came back with a swing motion. The witness agreed that he said this, but said he has a hard time remembering if that's actually what happened because the incident was so long ago. The witness testified that after people were scattered and saying that someone had been, we can read that word, during cross-examination, prosecutor Bill Worski explained that he and the witness met a few weeks ago at the Frisco Police Department. Worski questioned the witness's memory, asking if the witness was kind of just guessing regarding some of his statements. After some discussion over whether Austin's contact with Karmelo was a push, punch, or jab, Worski asked the witness to reenact the contact. The witness appeared confused and repeatedly said, "I don't know." Then it looks like at 10:51, court takes a brief recess. They come back from that recess, like it looks like 25 minutes later. And then right here, defense calls students and Frisco police to the stand in Karmelo Anthony trial. This is obviously the day 4 update. Let's see, 1 hour ago. Trial has yet to resume following Monday's lunch break. Would resume at 12:30, but over an hour later, members of the public and media were still being held outside the courtroom. Karmelo Anthony's parents were quickly escorted into the courtroom shortly after 1 p.m. As of 1:30, Austin Metcalf's parents still remained outside. Live updates from the trial will resume shortly. Looks like 40 minutes ago, court resumes after a 2-hour delay. Defense rests. After a lengthy delay, the defense has rested its case in the first-degree murder trial of Karmelo Anthony. Both the prosecution and the defense have finished presenting their cases, and the jury has heard all of the evidence that will be presented in court. Closing arguments will take place on Tuesday morning. The jury will deliberate all day on Tuesday and will be sequestered for the duration of the deliberation. The jury will stay at a hotel and have no access to TV or phone. According to Judge Roach, the jury will be sequestered from the outside world. Judge Roach instructed the jury not to discuss the case outside of their deliberations. The jury was warned not to look anything up online, including on social media, because they don't know anything. According to Judge Roach, the jury charge is long, so they will address that during court on Tuesday morning. This is 42 minutes ago. So it looks like that's going to be that for today, which is really shocking. I kind of thought we would have way more updates. You guys let me know in the comments what you guys are thinking. Again, I see super chats or memberships. I will read those at the end. We are going to actually take this down, and we are going to really quick listen to Sarah Fields' updates that she had yesterday, because I just think it's interesting to listen to her updates as well. She's done great independent journalism work here. And so I just think it's important to not only look at NBC, but to listen to her too as well. Again, if you guys have X, I would follow her. She's worked really hard to cover this case for the last year, and she's done a lot of work, and she's getting a lot of backlash, and it's been crazy for her. Hello, Peaky Blinders. How are you? I hope you guys are having a good Monday. Happy Monday. Is it true that they just went into jury deliberation? Yeah, it looks like they are going to start that tomorrow morning. I don't know about you guys. I'm actually shocked that the defense they're already done. I mean, we had days of the prosecution, and then now there's like nothing. I'm really in shock. You guys let me know your guesses for how long you think till we have a verdict. I'm curious to see what you guys think. In the meantime, again, let's listen to Sarah Fields. We don't have to listen to, I know that like some of this, she's like talking about other stuff, but let's see what some of her updates are just for you guys to hear.
Me right now, I've heard things like, I am the secretary for the Proud Boys. He's already been sued in civil court and he lost as well. Let me think what else. There is a particular person who continues to post about me over and over again. Someone has stated stalking and threatening her. That's a lie. I feel like it's main character syndrome. She has main character syndrome to this individual. Unless she absolutely continues to come after me and make up lies. Get into June 6th. June 6th.
So what she's going over is, again, because she's been covering this case, she's actually getting threatened. People are saying a lot of nasty things about her and making up nasty rumors, putting her in danger, which is really unfortunate. So that's what she was talking about.
An individual was called to the stand. I will not be identifying this witness because this witness was a minor. Also, by the way, I have all my notes here, as well as notation from the individual that goes by Dark Horse. These are live updates that were provided by NBC that Dark Horse put into a transcript. And so far, I've looked at it and it does align with my notes and it is very accurate. So I'm going to be using this mixed with the notes that I wrote that day. I'm very detailed. As you see, this is all from the past week. So I'm just a very detailed person. This will probably eventually turn into a book one day, or we'll go into a book that prosecution was a Memorial High School student. His coach was Coach Starr, and he rode the bus that day. Prosecutor Bill Werski, which, by the way, Bill Werski, so far what I have seen, he's incredible. He's an incredible prosecutor. He is a beast. He is amazing at what he does. Very, very smart man. He asked the witness if he was aware that weapons are not allowed at school events, and the witness said he was absolutely aware. He said he rode the bus. It was not raining when they got there. He said that he was under the tent. He said that when he got there, he was looking around to find someone to talk to. He said that he only had a few teammates that were inside the tent, and some of them were on their phones. He said that at one point he saw someone he did not recognize and asked his teammates if he knew him. And this individual is now who we know is Karmelo Anthony. He said that it threw him off because Karmelo Anthony was not wearing any athletic gear. He said that Karmelo sat underneath the tent, and he said he wasn't really worried about Karmelo's presence at that time. He then said at one point that he saw Karmelo and Austin stand up. He saw Austin put his hand on Karmelo's shoulder, followed by a bunch of yelling. He then said that he heard Austin screaming, "He stabbed me," and he heard Hunter scream, "He got stabbed." And then when he was asked about the shove on the shoulder, he described it as a firm push. He said that he had heard Austin and Karmelo arguing, but he wouldn't say that anyone's demeanor was angry or aggressive. Bill Werski asked if Austin was responding to being provoked, and he said yes, he put his hand on his shoulder. He said that he then saw Hunter run after Karmelo, but came back down and tried to help Austin. He said that he did not see Hunter interact with Karmelo during the original altercation at all. He said, quote, "You do not expect someone to get stabbed at a track meet." And a lot of the witnesses have said this because they honestly thought that Karmelo was bluffing when he put his hand in the bag. They didn't think he had anything in there. He said that he saw Karmelo run up the bleachers and tried to run out of the stadium. Karmelo never left the stadium, by the way. He said he was afraid that he was going to stab others and that he was running away with another female student because she was scared. When he was asked about whether he thought that this was self-defense, he said no, and I quote, "It was lethal force against non-lethal." This witness in particular said that the encounter was still very hard for him to talk about. He said that he was in counseling. He said that Karmelo provoked Austin and that the stabbing was not done in self-defense. He was then cross-examined by Karmelo's defense attorney, Toby Shook, and Toby Shook brought out a transcript of when he had done an interview with detectives, and he pointed out that this same person said that Karmelo had gone into a tent on previous occasions, but he said he doesn't remember saying that, but what he meant to say is that he's passed by the tent and said hi before, which is okay to do. It's just not okay to sit and hang out underneath another team's tent. He also testified that after everything happened, they ran back to the bus. He was there with his fellow students waiting on the bus, and that while they were on the bus, they were trying to figure out who Karmelo was, and that they had found a picture on Instagram of Karmelo. And he explained that they were passing around a phone with an Instagram photo of Karmelo. He was also asked if he remembered that he had said that Hunter had popped in to defend Austin, he said he did remember saying that, but he could not remember what Hunter said. He did also make it clear that Austin was a much bigger person. I believe he said substantially bigger than his own brother, but that he was also bigger than Karmelo, and that he could look intimidating if someone, didn't know him. Then the prosecution called in another student witness. This was also a minor, so I can't share this person's name. He was on the same football team, and he said he considered Austin to be like a big brother to him. He said he rode a bus from Memorial that morning. He said the weather was cloudy. He said that there were males and females underneath the tent. Said a kid from Centennial came and sat underneath the tent. He said at one point they told Karmelo that it was not raining and that he did not need to be underneath the tent anymore. But Karmelo refused to leave. He said that Karmelo then got irritated and said, "Touch me and see what happens." Yet again, he's another witness who said that Karmelo instigated the altercation, and just like all the other witnesses, said that he thought Karmelo was bluffing when he put his hand in the backpack because, quote, "It's a high school track meet and you're not supposed to bring in anything, aka weapons." He said that Austin pushed him. He then saw Austin. He apparently he missed the stabbing. He saw Austin with blood on his chest and that Austin was falling down the bleachers. He said Austin said, "I've been stabbed." And Hunter was screaming that he had a knife and to run. This witness in particular told the jury that everyone was crying because they couldn't believe what happened. And when they got back to the bus, he said that a friend of Karmelo's, this friend that has been referred to several times that apparently Karmelo sat under the tent with, and they dapped up, I've reported that in my prior videos, was there. And he had asked him how he knew Karmelo. I guess they were just friends. He also was asked if this was done in self-defense, and the witness said no, he committed murder. And then that was that for that witness. And then the prosecution called in another witness that was a minor. And I'm going to continue to, this witness's testimony was very interesting and very detailed. So please watch the second video.
Okay, so we're going to go to the second video. What I like playing about Sarah's stuff as well is that obviously because she's in the courtroom, there are details that, we're not going to get, from the news, like what we're reading off of NBC and stuff. I mean, it's just not as detailed as what she goes through. I'm just trying to find like the other parts of the videos because the last time I was playing this, it went like in order. So I wonder what happened here because this is part 4, part 5. So let me see what she did with the other. Here we go. It's in the comments. So here's going to be the part 2.
Saturday.
But before actually, you know what? We'll jump into that after. We'll listen to more of her. But you guys let me know what you guys think in the comments, where you guys are at with it, what you guys think of this entire thing. This entire case has a lot of controversy around it. It's extremely difficult. It's got people in a very hateful mind frame. I'm just seeing like a lot of nasty comments in general. It's sad all the way around, no matter what way you look at it. But we're going to jump into the rest of her videos. We'll try to up the speed on this too, just so that, because like I said, I know Candace is going to be live today. I don't know what time. I'll check on that while we're watching.
Trial day, which would have been yesterday, June 6th, of the Karmelo Anthony case trial. I was in the courtroom. I forgot to talk about this in the first video, but just to give y'all an idea of where I was sitting, because this is going to be important for you to remember later. In this courtroom in particular, in this court day in particular, you have the full gallery, and then you have the jury, and then you have the judge over here, and the witness stand directly in the middle. Once you walk into the room, was on the very far left of the gallery. So I'm literally sitting directly in front of where the jury is. So anything shown to the jury by the prosecution or by the defense, I could see it because here's the jury. And then here's where I'm sitting directly next to the jury in the gallery. So I'm literally facing the jury while they're facing the judge and the rest of the courtroom. And so if any pictures or anything were shown to them, any graphics or anything like that, I was able to see what they saw. Okay, moving on. The next witness that was called, this might have been the craziest and the most detailed I listened to. I mean, there were over 20 witnesses called. This one was most certainly the most interesting for sure. This individual, again, is a minor. Told the jury that he plays soccer. Also, shout out again, I have transcripts here. NBC transcripts that are very detailed, as well as my notes, because I write down a lot. Shout out to Dark Horse, who was able to get a hold of these NBC live updates and put them into a transcript. Okay, so this witness said that he played soccer and that he had tickets to the upcoming Japan versus Sweden game. He was clearly excited about that. He was asked who he would be rooting for, and he said Portugal, which made everybody laugh. He told the prosecution that he wasn't really friends with Austin or Hunter. He said that he runs track and was at the meet on April 2nd to run the 800 and the 1600. He said that while he was under the memorial tent at the track meet, Karmelo Anthony sat right next to him and looked at him and said, "What crazy weather." And of course, he was referring to the fact that it had been raining off and on all morning. He said he thought that was strange because he didn't understand why he was sitting there when each team had its own tent, which, again, please make sure you understand this is what the witnesses said. This is not my opinions. This is based on what it was stated, quoted from the witnesses in their testimony. He said that he was sitting under the tent and was talking to someone when he said that a fellow student looked at Karmelo and said, "Who's this guy?" And apparently Karmelo responded and said, "I'm a nobody." And then he testified and said that another student said, "Well, if you're a nobody, you can get out from underneath this tent." To which Karmelo responded and said, "I'm not effing leaving." Except he didn't said effing. I just really hate using that word, but he said, "I'm not effing leaving." And then he said Karmelo began to get more aggressive as people told him to leave. And then an individual who, I think this witness was a minor, so I'm not going to say the name, again said, "If you're a nobody, you can leave." And he said, "I'm not leaving, F y'all." He said, "F y'all, I'm not going to leave, y'all a bunch of pussies, y'all not going to do anything." He said he wasn't really worried about this because he felt like it was just tough talk. And he didn't really feel like he had reason to worry at this point. He said it was at this point that Austin said, "Bro, you can just leave. Nobody wants you here." Or excuse me, "We don't want you here." This is when Karmelo reached into his bag, put his hand in the bag, and said multiple times, "Touch me and see what happens." It was at this time that he said Austin seems pretty calm about the matter and told Karmelo that he did not want to fight. This witness described this as disrespectful. He said this was disrespectful to do under another team's tent. He said Austin said, "I'm not going to fight you at a track meet, bro." Then he said Austin pushed him, and then he said he effing stabbed me and lifted his shirt, and he said he saw a large hole with lots of blood. At this point, quite a few people were crying in the courtroom. Megan Metcalf was crying. He said that he remembered that other students said that Austin looked dead. He said Austin did not deserve what happened. Worski said it was murder, wasn't it? And he said, "Yes, sir." He was cross-examined by the defense, and he reiterated that Karmelo was swearing and saying "F you guys" when he was confronted. He told the jury that Austin did not step up when he pushed Karmelo, and that he just turned around in the same row. And then it was at this time that they took a brief recess. The next witness was Karmelo's friend. This was a pretty big witness. A lot of people were waiting to hear from this individual because, again, this person was identified as someone who was a friend of Karmelo's. I'm not going to say the name because I do believe he is a minor, but apparently he knew Austin and Hunter. He said that Austin was like a brother to him. He said that he knew Melo because he was friends with Melo's, and he's calling him Melo. Well, actually, let me back up for a minute. He used to call him Melo. While he was testifying yesterday, he referred to Melo as Karmelo instead. I thought that was interesting, just a little psychology there. But he referred to him as Karmelo. And he said that the reason he knew Melo because he was friends with Karmelo's ex-girlfriend. He said he took the bus that day. He said that he sat towards the back of the tent. Worski did say at one point that, you're kind of unique. You're a unique witness because you are kind of the common denominator between Karmelo and Memorial High School. And the witness, recognized that he understood this. He also said that he had not spoken to Karmelo since Austin's death. He told the jury that he didn't really notice Karmelo when he first got there, but when he did, he dapped him up. And then he said he didn't really care that he was there at that moment. And then he said that they didn't talk very much, but he started to pay attention when Austin said, "Who are you? You need to get out of the tent." Then, according to him, Karmelo replied, "You got to move me. You got to move me." And then called Austin a bitch or whatever. He said he didn't remember any other bad words that were used, but he does remember that Austin also cursed. He did say that when Karmelo said, "You got to move me, you got to move me, you're a bitch," he was getting more angry, and his tone clearly showed signs of anger. He said that Austin was always trying to lead and defend. And then he said that Austin got up and then Karmelo's hand immediately went into the bag. He said that he felt like it was a bluff. He didn't really feel like there was anything in there. They all thought it was a bluff. And then he said, Karmelo said, touch me and you'll see. Which, and he said in his opinion, he invited Austin to touch him when he said, you'll have to move me. He said that Austin then fell back after he tried to softly shove Karmelo away. He saw Austin fall. He saw Austin grab his chest, and Austin said, help, I've been stabbed. It was at this point that this witness in particular, who again, at one point was someone that was referred to as Karmelo's friend, he began to cry very hard on the stand. It was heartbreaking to see him crying on the stand, and there was a pause for a while. He was then asked about the interaction that involved Hunter, and he said, Austin said that you don't have anything when he put his hand in the bag. And he said, Hunter said, you don't have anything in there. Don't pretend you have anything. But he also said that Hunter had stayed seated. He also stated that at one point during this interaction, he pulled out his phone and acted like he was recording because he thought the situation was funny. At the time, again, they were not expecting what happened. They didn't think he actually had anything in the bag. He didn't expect a murder to take place. So kids being kids, I'm inserting my opinion here. I have teenage boys. I have a teenage boy. I know how they behave. Taking out your phone going, oh, look at this. I've seen them do things like this. And that's what it sounds like he was doing. But he said he acted like he was recording because he thought it was funny. Follow me for part 3.
All right. So that was part 2. This is going to be part 3. I don't think we're going to see the video. Again, I think if the video gets leaked, it's going to be way after trial. And this is going to be because someone had it on their cell phone, and obviously there was a very tight, strict gag order on this case. And people held to it because we knew nothing different for this whole year until the court or till trial. So, and when court transcripts are released, I want to go through them just because obviously there's a lot of detail in there that I think Sarah's doing the best she can. She can only write so much. She's a human being, remember so much, recall so much, whatever. We can't watch the court because there's no cameras in the courtroom. So we are literally going off of updates from anybody who was in the courtroom. So NBC, CNN, if they had media in the courtroom, we're just going with whatever updates they give us. And then Sarah gives her updates from being in the courtroom at the end of that day. So post-trial evidence online. You'll get the transcripts from court. And then some stuff is, released if it's FOIA'd. Pictures from the Idaho 4 and all that stuff is released. I mean, it's become public record after trial. So I don't know how much of that we'll see. We have to see. I don't really want to see the video. I think it's bad enough. It's sad enough. I just don't think there'd be any point to seeing that. But I do think it would paint a picture for the people that believe that this is for other reasons other than the fact that we're on trial for either self-defense or not, self-defense or murder. But this has turned into 1,000 other arguments that, you know what I mean, are way not what in the ballpark of what I'm trying to do here. All right, let's listen to this.
Part 3, we're continuing to talk about the witness who was an associate or whatever you want to call it, a friend of Karmelo's, even though he said that he really just knew Karmelo because he was friends with Karmelo's ex-girlfriend, who was his girlfriend at the time. So after he talked about how he pretended to record the incident, he also said, Wursco asked him, were you angry with Karmelo? And he said that he was. And he said, quote, that was my brother. That was my brother that got stabbed. During cross-examination, something very interesting also came up because he made it clear that during his interaction with Karmelo at the track meet, when Karmelo first sat there, he said that Karmelo said something like, y'all are bad, y'all are ass. And he was referring to the team. He was referring to Memorial's football team because they were talking about football. They were joking around about football. And that's when Karmelo interjected himself and said, y'all are bad, y'all are ass. And that is definitely something that got a lot of people's attention.
So people in the chat, yes. So there was 5 different angles worth of footage. some of the videos were extremely blurry, and they had someone try to clear them up the best they could. But some of them I think were more clear. I think it just depended on who took them. I think some were done on cell phones. They didn't specify if it was cell phone footage. They just said surveillance footage. There was surveillance footage, and we don't know who it came from. There were 5 different angles of what took place, what the weather conditions were, all these different things. But there's 5 different videos, all different angles, is what we were told. I have not seen the videos. I'm saying that Sarah Fields, who we were watching her videos, she was in the courtroom, and because she was in the courtroom, because there were 30 seats open to the public. This is in Texas. I do not live in Texas, so I was not able to fly there to do this trial. In the future, I want to fly for trials, ones that I'm interested in and that I think need honest coverage. But she was in the courtroom, so she is giving us, at the end of the day, her her information of what she saw and what went on, what her experience was. No, Shay, I heard it's blurry. Sorry for coming at you so tough. Yeah, some of the video footage was blurry, but I think some of it is not, from what I understood.
We then recessed for lunch, and when we came back from lunch at 12:45, that witness was still on the stand. He said that he really didn't know how bad it was until Austin pulled up his shirt. He thought it was a shove met with a shove. He didn't realize that Austin had been stabbed. He said that Hunter immediately went to go get Austin. He said he ran to Coach Lou. He said he couldn't find the coach, and then he went back. He saw the coach that had taken off his jacket, and then he jumped the fence, and he said that one coach grabbed him and said, you can't, because apparently he was trying to run after Karmelo. And apparently he was crying and saying, that was my brother that got stabbed. He said he saw several paramedics arrive. He apparently gave the officers an interview in the locker room with Hunter. Hunter could not speak at the time. He talked to a second officer at the physical therapy center, Officer Riley, who was a psychologist. He said that they did take his phone. It was verified that he did not record anything. The only thing that had happened was he had sent a message to a friend and said, Austin got stabbed. He did say that looking back, he does wish that he did not pretend to film it. He was asked, is this about race? And he said, no. He said, Austin was a leader and he protected us. I'm going to go ahead and make it clear right now that a large majority of these witnesses are not white. So I'll let you come to your own conclusions about that. He was then cross-examined by Shook. It was already known that this person was close with Karmelo Anthony's girlfriend at the time. He referred to her as his cousin, and apparently their mothers are good friends. This kind of became almost aggressive because I don't even need to really go over all of this, but Shook continuously kept bringing up pictures, I assume from social media, showing this kid and Karmelo hanging out together either at his house or at a party or whatever. It was also something that needed to be noted is that in the majority of the pictures was Karmelo Anthony's girlfriend as well. So it became obvious that he was hanging out with this girl that he's obviously close to, refers to her as his cousin, and Karmelo is her boyfriend. So of course he's going to be there as well. There was an incident. There was apparently an incident where they were hanging out together, roasting marshmallows. He said he doesn't remember much of it. It was, excuse me, it was already determined that they knew each other. Why this was significant, I don't understand. Worski, the prosecution, could be seen shaking his head repeatedly, like, this is so irrelevant, it doesn't matter. I'm pretty sure that's what was going through his head. And he almost Toby Shook seemed like he was trying to rattle this witness. He said, you knew Karmelo a lot more than you're telling this jury. And the witness explained that he and Karmelo only hung out because they were hanging around Carmelo's girlfriend's family. Toby Shook said, do you remember saying anything to your team or Karmelo? And he said, I don't remember. He said, you didn't think to step up and say, hey, I know this guy. And the witness said he did not say he knew Karmelo because he didn't feel like he needed to. He said he felt like the conversation with the other teammates regarding who Karmelo was and why he was there was a normal thing. He said Karmelo did call Austin a bitch, and he called him a bitch back. And it was at that point that Karmelo put his hand in the bag. They then did a demonstration because he said, do you remember telling detectives that when Austin went to shove Karmelo, he kind of pushed you back? And I said, I don't remember. The witness said, I don't remember saying that. He said, do you remember telling officers that when Austin pushed Karmelo, you didn't see where he grabbed him? The witness said that was correct. And he had him demonstrate of the push again. And this has been demonstrated by other witnesses before. And he just demonstrated, and he said it wasn't that hard. It was like a small shove. And then this part. And if this doesn't make you angry, because this made me angry, I don't know what will. But it was then around this time that Toby Shook looked at this witness and said, and asked him, why were you filming or pretending to film it? Why didn't you film it? Why were you pretending? And he was trying to explain, I don't know, I was just joking around. I was trying to be funny, and the defense said, quote, if you had been filming, we would actually be able to know what happened and what was said, wouldn't we? This made a lot of people angry. There were a lot of people who gasped. You could hear it in the gallery. It genuinely made a lot of people angry because it sounded like he was calling him a liar. And I'm not going to hold back here. This was a shitty thing to say to a kid on a witness stand. This kid was nervous. He had already been bawling his eyes out. He's holding a ball to keep himself occupied. He's holding a ball and an anxiety ball. And to say something like this to a kid and make him feel guilty about something that he probably already felt guilty about was a shitty thing to do. Pretty sure he knew it was shitty, so he was pretty done with that witness after that. Then the state called another witness, and this was another minor, to the stand. I believe this was the 21st witness, and this was the last witness that was underneath the tent that day. He said that he was a linebacker, and he did track with the Metcalf twins. His events were shot put and discus. He said that he had headphones on and was listening to music, and then he heard everyone telling Karmelo to leave. He said he heard Karmelo say, touch me and see what happens. And he put his hand in the backpack. He thought he was bluffing. He said that Karmelo challenged Austin to a fist fight. And that Austin said, quote, I won't fight you at a track meet, bro. This was the third or fourth time that this has been confirmed that Austin said this.
I was just about to say that this is not the first and only witness to say that Austin said that.
He then did not take this seriously. He didn't think anything bad would happen. He said he turned back around and put his headphones back into his ears. And then...
Ooh, I'm going to pause that for a second because Tucker White just brought up a great point. Defense is rested, which we already talked about earlier, but Anthony will not take the stand. What do you guys think about him not taking the stand? I'm really surprised sort of that he's not, because in a self-defense case, I would imagine that you would. Obviously, I think that your attorney would go over things with you and prepare you for what that's going to be like. But I would think in a self-defense case, that would have been something that you would have wanted done, or I would have figured the attorneys would have wanted him to do. You guys let me know what you think, because I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I just would have imagined that. Don't you think? Wouldn't it be important to get up there and be like, hey, listen, like, I didn't go there with this intention. I was genuinely afraid. I did not want to have to do, like, I would, if it was me, I would want to get up there and say that. He's listening to his lawyers, prosecutor. Oh, they're probably worried about Cross. Yeah, would have destroyed him on the stand. Yeah, the prosecutor in this case is thorough. The state has done, I mean, even the defense's witnesses, whenever they call people, they end up helping the prosecution. And to be honest, out of all the witnesses that have been called, I feel like everyone's telling the same story. We haven't had anybody tell a different story. So I don't know. I'm sure he wasn't saying nice things. That's why. Oh, I don't know. Actually, I don't know. We'll finish out this few minutes and then we'll talk about this more.
And all of a sudden he heard screams and he heard Austin say, he stabbed me, he stabbed me, he stabbed me. And then he could see the coach holding Hunter back. Austin went down to the ground and had stood back up, put his back to a fence. He said that Hunter wanted to confront Karmelo. He then said Austin fell. Austin's face turned purple. And then he said that he himself had to be pulled from Austin because he was trying to grab Austin as well to help him. But he had to be pulled from Austin when they were trying to work on him. And then he said he went to the bus. It was, I believe, after this. Yes, I believe it was after this witness, according to my notes, that the judge had them, the state and the defense come up to him and they discussed things privately. And then they went back, and we could hear them discussing something like a lot of witnesses. This is taking a long time. This is being prolonged. And understandably, because most of the witnesses had pretty much said the same thing. They then went back to, where they stand, and the judge told the jury, you don't see it yet, you don't know this yet, but things are going to start moving along a little bit faster. And then it was at this point that they called in the medical examiner and advised the family to leave. The next video will be the medical examiner.
Okay, so we put up a poll. I'm just curious to see as people pop in what they think of this. We'll see where everybody's at. We'll run that for a little while. Here's we're gonna go into part 4.
And
you guys let me know in the chat also if you guys want to keep listening to the rest of Sarah Fields. It's part 4 and part 5, and then that's all she has. And then obviously she has not posted anything for today as far as I know. But I just wanted to see what you guys thought. So we put a poll in the chat. If Karmelo was considered unable to handle the press or prosecution giving him a hard time, then smart to not have him take the stand. I agree. He might not have done well in prep, and they decided against it. Also, Cross would tear him up. I agree with that, and I think that's probably what happened. The poll should be in there. Yeah, the poll's there. Peaky Blinders. With the jury tampering allegations, it's probably best that they sequestered them. I definitely think that sequestering them, I'm surprised they haven't been this entire time throughout the entire trial, being that there's just so much going on around the courthouse and so on and so forth. But you never know. So premeditation is not required for murder 1 in Texas. So whether we think it's premeditated or not, it's actually not relevant to murder 1 at all whatsoever. So he would be found guilty or not guilty of murder 1. And I keep hearing this, but then I also, from what I know, he has no criminal record. So I don't know. But I don't know. Maybe recently there's been things where there is no criminal record, but he's not, you know what I mean? He's been caught just doing things, and it's not something he's been arrested for. I don't know. So we shall see. Let's continue to listen to Sarah.
She had told me that this coach was a very laid back coach, not someone who was the same as some of the coaches that are at Memorial. Very, very laid back, just kind of a very chill coach. So to give you an idea of what this person is like. His name was Adam Linwood. He is the football and track coach at Centennial High. He has been there since about 2018 because he said he'd been there for 8 years. So I just estimated 2018. He was asked by the defense, Mike Howard, to describe track culture. He said it was a player-led sport, and he kind of described it as organized chaos. He was asked if he was aware of that time of any players not being allowed to or expected not to go under the team tent, and he said that he was not. He said that he had seen students go into other teams' tents before, just being social, their friends making friends. He said students would mingle in the downtime between events. He said that going into another team's tent is not something that students would be kicked out for, and that he was not aware that other schools had a policy about going into other teams' tents. He did, however, state that since the incident, he said that Centennial's policy has changed since the stabbing, and students must now stay with their teams. A picture was shown in court showing Karmelo Anthony as co-captain of the football team in 2024. Linwood explained that that was when, apparently he didn't finish the year. And that was when Karmelo suffered a shoulder injury during the season and had his arm in a sling, but he was still showing up for practices and for games. He was asked if Centennial had a tent that day. He said that they did not take very many kids to the meet, so they didn't have the manpower to put up both of their tents. He stated that Karmelo's events were early enough in the morning that it made sense for him to be at the meet. He was asked why he didn't have a tent. He said they did, but it had been put on the bus behind them. And he said the bus did not get there on time to put up the tent yet. He did clarify and acknowledge that he knew that there was a no weapons policy at track meets. And he agreed that there was a zero tolerance policy regarding weapons. Worski, during cross-examination, said, I assume it was shocking to know that one of your athletes stabbed someone in the chest. Worski also made it clear during cross-examination that all coaches have different policies for their teams. He asked the coach, wasn't Karmelo supposed to be warming up? He said, yes. Was he? He said, no. Why did he leave? I have no idea. Then he asked him, what is a cleat sharpener? And he explained what a cleat sharpener was. And then he showed the knife and he said, is this a cleat sharpener? And he said, no. And he said, is it normal to ask certain students to be a leader? And he said, yes. He said, for them to act as a coach? He said, yes. That coach then agreed. By the way, still, this is the defense's witness. That coach then agreed that if someone was placed in charge and instructed to make other members of teams leave their tent, that they should comply. He also made it clear that there was no weather delay. The next witness was, his name was Jeremiah. He was a student at Centennial. He was 18. So he's not a minor. So I went ahead and said his first.
So before she finishes that, they did ask why, that was a question that was asked. Why was this at a school meet? Why was this on school property? At the bottom line is, and even for me, that's been my thing this entire time is, at the end of the day, why was this brought to a track meet? Whether you can have it on your person or not, why was this on school property? If you're going to a track meet, there's no reason to have this. Period. Full stop right then and there. So that was the issue for me. So so him and Austin did not know each other at all prior to this. There is no connection between these two boys. They did not go to the same school. They do not have allegedly mutual friends. Now, this Eddie kid is like the common denominator between the two, but it's not like, you know what I mean? A friend that hangs out with him all the time. They were friends since they were kids. Eddie was somebody that was friends with Karmelo's girlfriend at the time. He is no longer dating that girl. Just to clarify that for those of you that don't know that.
I think it was Jeremiah Smith. He was also asked about tent policy and track culture, and so on. Worski, upon cross-examination, asked Jeremiah, if you were asked to leave a tent, would you? He said yes. Would you ever bring a knife to a track meet? No. The next witness that the defense called was a memorial student, and I'm not going to share his name because he's a minor, and the next video will probably be my last video update for Saturday. Go ahead and that video will be released in about 30 minutes.
All right, so this is going to be the last video of hers.
I thought
we'll have to back this one up. We'll put the playback speed up, and then again, if you guys have
part 5 in the last video of Saturday's events. Let's see. This was a minor. This is the last witness of the day. Is a minor, but is a Memorial High School student. He had taken the SATs that morning. I cannot imagine taking the SATs and then attending a trial in the afternoon, but that's crazy. This witness said that he remembers sitting below the friend of Karmelo's, and then he said that he remembers Hunter saying, "Who are you?" He also made it clear that Austin was much bigger than Hunter. He apparently, according to the defense, said to the detective that Hunter did not tolerate being disrespected. He said that everything happened with a moderate tone. He said that Karmelo was told to leave, and that Karmelo responded with, "No one has a problem with me being here except you," end quote. This witness was asked by Howard if he remembered telling detectives that Austin said, "You need to move before I beat your ass." This witness said, "No, I don't remember saying that." And this was crazy. So the defense quoted this witness for saying, Austin said, "No one has a problem with, you need to move before I beat your ass." And then again, the witness said, "I don't remember saying that." So the defense, Mike Howard, then turned around and found a transcript, brought the transcript to the witness and said, "Here it is right here. Do you want to take a look at it?" He looked at it for a while. And then he said, "Do you remember saying that?" He said, "Yes, but," he said, "but you didn't finish everything that I said. I said he said something like that. I didn't say he said that verbatim." And I don't think Mike Howard expected him to respond that way, but he said, "No, I said something like, you need to move before I beat your ass. I didn't say that it was that verbatim." It was actually verified in the interview transcript that Mike Howard himself showed this witness. It was also something I noted during this interaction between Mike Howard and this witness. This witness himself never really told the story. He didn't give his series of events. It was more like Mike Howard was saying, you did this, then you did this, then you did this, correct? Then you did this. So in my mind, I'm like, who's telling the story here? Who's testifying? Is it the defense or is it the witness? And then Howard said, and Mello said, as long as you don't touch me, we're cool, right? And I thought this was interesting because, again, inserting my opinion here, I thought this was a weird thing for him to say, as long as you don't touch me, we're cool. That statement has never been brought up by any other witness at all. Not even anything that sounded like it. As long as you don't touch me, we're cool. I thought it was very odd for him to say because the day before, which would have been Friday, I saw a propaganda article pop up on X that said that Karmelo had said, as long as you don't touch me, we're cool. And I was like, did he just quote an article from yesterday that I saw? That's kind of weird. I don't know. I just thought the whole thing was very strange. I actually commented on it the day before and said, no witness has ever said this. Like, what are you talking about? So I just found that to be very interesting. And I just kind of wanted to input that because it threw me off big time. It was odd. Then Werski cross-examined. Werski said that he talked to this individual's dad on break, asked him if he was nervous. He definitely said he was nervous. This witness said that Austin apparently said, you've got nothing in there. And he's referring to when he put his hand in the bag. And then he said, well, I'm not from Frisco. This is in reference to the fact that some of the witnesses have said that they didn't expect anything to happen because he's from Frisco, because they're from Frisco. And apparently, according to this witness said that Karmelo responded and said, well, I'm not from Frisco. He then said that Austin tried to move Karmelo and that it was not scary. He then demonstrated the stab, like many other witnesses had done. He was asked by Werski, was Karmelo in the wrong? And he said yes. The day ended after that. It's going to pick back up again on Monday morning. Hopefully I'll get in. It's a toss-up every time, but we're going to find out. So I will let everybody know.
So that was the end of her update for Saturday.
Okay,
Again, I just wanted to show you guys that because it's good to get somebody who's not a part of mainstream media, their input of what went on in the courtroom. The other thing I wanted to show you guys that she posted was this. It says, I've been trying to find a good representation online of the weapon used to kill Austin. It was a green-handled multi-tool knife with a 3.5-inch blade and a thumb click lock mechanism. This is very similar. I don't think it was serrated is the only difference. So this is, she put correction liner lock, but she wanted to just give people an idea of what they saw in the courtroom, something similar so you can have an idea. And we will just see if she updated anything for today. I'm guessing that won't come until much later. There's a lot of things going on outside of the courtroom. This is an update. So before I read this, I thought it was interesting. I did not realize this, but originally, well, I knew this part. So Karmelo Anthony, I believe he had two different attorneys prior to this trial even starting. No one had known why the attorneys had changed. But then people were informing me that I guess his parents couldn't afford the defense after they raised money. And so he had a public defender. Not saying that a public defender isn't good and they should still defend you. But I do agree with the fact that when you hear about them already, resting their side of the case, and it just didn't seem like they really, well, I mean, 35 witnesses for the prosecution, and all of them say the same thing. I mean, even the people that knew Karmelo are saying he was in the wrong. I mean, I just don't even know if and then he's not going to take the stand. I don't know I don't know what they thought. Maybe there was just no way for them to, I don't know. So it says the few witnesses called to the stand today either could not remember key details or simply did not see what actually happened. Their testimony was thoroughly challenged during cross-examination by Bill Werski. The defense presented no additional evidence beyond witnesses who were unable to confirm the longstanding claim that Karmelo Anthony was attacked, a claim that has circulated since the beginning of this case. There were also persistent rumors that the Metcalf brothers were bullies. No evidence was presented to support those claims. In fact, the testimony painted a very different picture. More than 20 witnesses called by the prosecution consistently described Austin and Hunter as leaders, role models, and their brothers. Closing arguments are tomorrow morning. After that, the jury will begin deliberations. Judge Roach has informed the jurors that they will be sequestered during deliberations. If they do not reach a verdict by the end of the day, they will be housed in a hotel and isolated from outside communication until deliberations are complete. I do not foresee this jury taking more than a day to reach a verdict. During jury selection, the prospective jurors were educated on several important aspects of Texas law regarding self-defense. First, murder under Texas law involves intentionally or knowingly causing the death of a person, of another person. Contrary to what many people believe, Texas law does not require the state to prove premeditation in order to secure a murder conviction, which is what I told you guys earlier about premeditation has nothing to do with being found guilty of murder. One, it does not have to be there. Jurors were also told that words alone do not justify the use of deadly force. Additionally, a person cannot provoke a confrontation, escalate it, and then successfully claim self-defense after using deadly force. I will be posting a full video later today with a detailed account of everything that occurred inside the courtroom today. So, of course, tomorrow what we'll do is we will get on here again for a live. And we will go over what she talked about, just to, again, talk about someone who was actually there, and see what was said in the courtroom, aside from NBC's notes. And we will obviously keep up with closing statements. I am guessing closing argument statements are not going to take long at all. I really don't think so. With juries being sequestered, typically I think that it's definitely not going to go to the weekend for sure, because people aren't going to want to, be stuck in a hotel for the whole weekend. I just think that's kind of how it works. So I think we'll definitely see a verdict this week. You guys let me know in chat what you think, but I don't think it's going to take that long from what I think, based on all the information that's been put out there. I don't think so. I'm going to read through some of your guys' comments. Again, I will read super chats at the end. I do see there are things to go over, super chats or memberships that people signed up for the channel. So I will go over those here in a minute. You guys let me know in chat if there's anything that you guys don't know about the case. You can put the questions in chat and we'll answer those really quick before we hop off here, because again, we will be going through everything again tomorrow. He needs a high sentence, because if not, more stuff like this will happen. I do know that it's at least 25 years to life with the possibility of parole, I believe, because this is not a capital murder charge. So there's no death penalty and there's no life in prison without parole. I do know that. So he will be eligible for parole at some point. This happened when he was 17 years old. So we'll just have to see how that goes. But then, we'll just have to see. Having a weapon on school property is a felony of the third degree. So he was in the act of committing a crime before the incident took place. I agree. And I think for a majority of people from the jump, that's the biggest problem. This is a good point that was brought up a lot. I thought Hunter was bigger. Jesus, Austin is the bigger twin. Yes. So they were trying to portray that both brothers were actually the same size. And what originally was the picture that was trying to be painted was that they basically were bullying Karmelo together. And it was like the two big brothers against Karmelo. And they were trying to get people to say that Hunter and Austin are the same size when they're actually very different. And so, and then again, that comes back to witness testimony where people said they're definitely not the same size. The coaches were like, they're not the same size. Even, I believe it was Eddie. I have to go back, but even people that were, I guess like Carmelo's friends or associates even said that the boys were not the same size. I do not know who ABL is. I saw that in the chat. I do not know who that is. I will have to look that up. I'm going to keep on looking. It's late. I'm going to unwind. Oh, rewind. You're late. Don't worry about it. That's why I keep the replays up, because you never know. Anthony Brian Logan, conservative YouTuber. I don't know who that is. I'll have to look that person up. I really believe part of the issue was teen testosterone move, make me, oh yeah. I definitely think that that's a part of it, right? Boys in general, you know what I mean? That attitude that goes on, it just is what it is. Again, if someone asked you to move, I just would have moved. That I think that's the normal response if someone said, "Hey, you shouldn't be in here." Again, for those of you that are not familiar, when it came to this entire situation, it was not just Austin that asked him to move. He was asked to move by several people, more than once. People had asked, "Who are you? What are you doing here?" So on and so forth. Also, I'm not trying to bash Austin. Why, if he was on the okay, so the reason that Austin even got into this predicament is because Austin was the captain of the team. The coach want the throwers that day. He had put them in charge of putting the tent together, getting the equipment set up, so on and so forth. Because he was the captain, the coach looked for him to basically take charge and make sure everyone was where they were supposed to be and what they were doing if the coach was not around. The coach and the school that Austin went to have their own rules of, if you are not on this team, you do not belong in this tent. They did not want other people in that tent. That was a rule that was known to Austin and his team, that the coach did not want people who did not belong to that team in the tent. It makes sense. Again, you think about the NFL, you think about baseball players. I played softball. The opposing team was never in my dugout, not ever. He was sitting on their team bench. And at the time when all this was taking place, this was not downpour. It was not heavily raining to where he would be seeking shelter. And where he sat down on the bench, it was not under the completely under the tent. So it's not that he was seeking shelter for rain. Again, this person that he saw that he went to talk to was an acquaintance, someone that I guess was friends with his girlfriend, essentially, that he had known and hung out with throughout life. But it was not like, I don't think they kept up with each other very much as, like, you know, at the age they are now. And he is no longer dating that same girlfriend. That was the common denominator with this. I guess the guy's name was Eddie. So I'm just trying to make sure that I keep up with questions. We've all seen the tent. It's not like Anthony could have not gotten away easily. He was asked 15 times to leave. Again, like I just don't understand, if you were in a place that you shouldn't be, or whatever the tent culture is. I mean, I just wouldn't be in someone else's tent. If I was talking to someone and it was someone I knew, I'd be like, "Oh, hey, what's up?" And like typically people walk up to each other, you know what I mean? But if I was asked to leave somewhere, I would just leave. I mean, if you're not looking for trouble, you'd just be like, "Oh, okay, whatever." Like, "Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to, you know what I mean, upset you. I'm just talking to my friend," or, you know. And the person that he was talking to, Eddie, didn't even take up for him and say, "Hey, this is my friend. Like, no problem, guys." And his excuse on the stand was, "Well, I didn't think I had to." And then when they asked, who do you think the aggressor was? He says, "Karmelo." So that's probably why the defense didn't have much defending to do, because the common denominator in all this is saying, "Hey, I didn't take up for him and announce he was my friend, because like we're really more like acquaintances." And they start busting out pictures of them hanging out and going to all these parties or whatever together. Like, and then he was like, "Oh yeah, well that was like because he was dating this girl and like blah blah blah." And then when asked if who was the aggressor, he's like, "Carmelo was." Do you think that, this was self-defense? No. So not one person, when it came to Carmelo's actions, said that it was self-defense. Every single person said he was the aggressor. So, and that's everybody who was there. He was somewhere he shouldn't have been and then committed an evil act. Yeah, I mean, again, I go back to the bottom line for me is that item should not been on his person, period. Hey, Trigger Smart, how are you? I've been live like for the last what? I went live Saturday. I went live Friday. I can't remember if I went Thursday. I know this is like my third day in a row. I'm trying to get back into it. So I appreciate you for popping in. So essentially, what do you do at that point? What does the defense do? And the prosecutor was just he was good. He was a good prosecutor. He had it all down pat and tied up in a bow. I don't know. 100% shouldn't have had it. Yeah. I think that with the jury, that's the first thing that everyone's going to come back to in their mind is that the weapon should not have been there to begin with. And what happened to like old school like fist fights? You know what I mean? Someone says something you don't like, you have an issue. We're always like, oh, well, let's go outside and like figure it out, and people beat each other up and then walk away. And the next day it's like nothing ever happened, or you just don't talk to that person anymore. You avoid each other. I don't know why we always have to, we didn't, I don't know. I'm only 37. It's not like I'm super old, or I'm not old, but we just didn't do that stuff. But to me, again, and so that's what I think the jury is going to come back to. That's just my personal preference. Kids these days act like they live in a video game. Sad. I think there's a lot of, what's the word? Desensitized. Kids are desensitized now. They see too much on social media. They see too much in movies. And yeah, they even talk about Karmelo, the coach, saying to him, if this kid dies, your life is going to change forever. And he looks at his coach and says, well, he's not going to die. And the coach said, but if he does, your life is forever changed. And then he started to get emotional and, upset. It's like at that point, it started to register what really transpired here. I don't know. For me too, the fact that he brought the backpack into the tent is weird. If I saw someone I knew and I was stretching or doing whatever, why would you go get your bag, bring your bag to that area, set your bag down, start arguing with people after you're asked to leave, and then this whole thing go down? The bag even being brought into that tent was weird to me. That's just me, my opinion. Because he knew what was in the bag. You didn't forget that you had it. Because as soon as the verbiage started getting to be back and forth and you have this banter, your hand's in the bag ready to go. It's, that's just my opinion. Again, I was not in the courtroom. I'm going off of what I know based off of NBC, Sarah Fields, and that kind of coverage. Let's see. Old country school, kids had rifles in the trucks at school. I can imagine. So many people have these attitudes of standing up for yourself, getting loud, not backing down from anything, and it escalates from there. I don't think when Austin was doing this, I really just think it was like, hey, just get out of here. You know what I mean? I really do. And of course, when someone's not listening to you. And again, it all comes back to the coach's rules was nobody in the tent that did not belong to the team. So in Austin's mind, so at this time, his coach went to go get a crock pot, is what was said. And during the time of his coach getting the crock pot, all this took place. So in Austin's mind, if he's the captain of the team and his coach has given him this leadership role, and I really need you to be responsible today, I need you to get this set up and this set up and this set up. And the reason they didn't want anyone in the tent as well is because they have very expensive equipment and a very expensive tent. It makes sense. People's personal belongings are in there. I have friends that ran track and they're like, I would have never walked into someone else's tent, period. Like that is their domain. I would have never did that. So it seems to be like a thing. I didn't run track. I'm just saying I played softball and I was in other sports and I didn't go in other people's dugouts and stuff. But at the end of the day, he did. And so to be asked to leave, I don't think it was wrong. If that was the coach's rules and that is what he told Austin's mindset was probably, well, if the coach comes back and this kid's in here and I'm supposed to be in charge and no one is supposed to be in here unless they are a part of our team, I'm going to get in trouble. Do you know what I'm saying? So You know what I mean? And again, who would think that you would have to argue with someone if you know you're not wanted somewhere, that you would continue to sit there and like force yourself on someone? The person that you came over here to talk to is not even talking to you anymore. They haven't even claimed you as a friend. People were asking him, "Hey, do you know him?" Or, "Hey, is this your friend?" And he's not saying anything. So, what does that tell you? That doesn't look good. So, I don't know. It's just, and again, and I said this from day one when this case started. I said, at the end of the day, it all comes down to being able to justify deadly force. Just because somebody takes their hands and pushes you on the shoulders does not mean that you get to kill somebody and go, "Oh, well, it was self-defense." Because there's 1,000 steps before that. Like, you could have walked away and went to a coach and said, "Hey, this person put their hands on me." There was other ways to go about this, but you stood there and you kept it going. Um, Sounds to me like Anthony didn't like another kid telling him he couldn't sit there, so it escalated from there. I agree. I think that as soon as he was asked to leave, I think the ego was like, "Oh, well, I don't have to. You can't tell me what to do." And so he intentionally sat there to instigate. Again, do I think that he went there to the track meet with the intention of, "I'm gonna do this to this kid"? No. But I think he went there, this is on you. You brought your bag into the tent looking to start trouble. I don't know. That's just how it comes across. That's just my opinion, which is it's nothing. This is up to 12 jury members to make that decision. I wonder if the coaches in the school district will be sued by both sides. Um, I don't think so. I personally don't think so, because I don't think it's the coach's fault, and I don't think it's the school district's fault either. Um, and why sue the coaches on both sides? That's my opinion. The coaches don't know what's in his backpack. He signed a waiver stating he knew not to bring those things in, and he wouldn't bring those things in, and he brought it in anyway. I mean, typically, my high school, we had metal detectors and stuff. So if you were going into a football game or you were going into whatever, they checked bags and stuff like that. So I also South Side of Chicago, public school. So um, I know this area was not like an area that people felt, and that was the other thing. You know, a lot of the kids felt like he was bluffing when his hand was in his bag. And they said that when they saw his arm tense up and his veins were popping out, that's when they kind of realized, like, oh, he's got his hand on something in the bag. And then they started to feel like, oh, this could be bad. But at first, everyone thought he was bluffing, but it was all so fast. You know what I mean? Like, what sounds long to us, where you're like, oh, there was like this, like, what did they say? It was like 2 minutes in, there's like this discussion. And then at the 4-minute mark, there's, this brawl that looks like it's starting. So it wasn't very long, really. It's just, we had guards at my school, retired Chicago police officers. So did we. So our security was retired Chicago police officers. And we actually had one on duty cop during the school day, who was coincidentally one of my dad's really good friends. He needs the life sentence. He'll fit right in, thinking it's okay to over the 4th is, yeah, it's, I don't know. I'm speechless at it. I just don't know how anyone would think that that's okay. I agree. I don't think there was intent to harm someone, but I also don't think this argument and shove called for a fear of life reaction to hurt someone, especially with adults in the area. Yeah, I like I said, do I think this was like this like thought out planned thing and I'm going to do it to this person? No. But do I think that you brought the book bag? Why would you bring your book bag with you? It doesn't make sense. And you were supposed to be stretching. You were supposed to be stretching and do all these other things. Even if you saw someone you knew, you'd like probably just walk up and they said they dabbed each other up. You're like, hey, what's up? Okay, I got to go stretch. You know what I mean? Whatever. Bottom line is he, he knew he wasn't supposed to be there. He was asked multiple times. It wasn't just by Austin. It wasn't just by Hunter. He was asked by several people. And his response every time was move me. Oh, touch me and find out, or you know what I mean? All these different variations of, you know what I mean? Like to me, instigating type responses. And the push that happened, they made people reenact that shove several times. The prosecution did. And there was a kid that testified that was standing behind Karmelo when this shove occurred. And he said the shove wasn't hard because Karmelo didn't back into me. He didn't fall into me. And actually, after the shove happened, it was like simultaneously. Then he came back forward with it. Mind you, we read from the coroner report, or the medical examiner said that the wound in the chest was 2.5 inches. And she described it as a gaping hole in the chest. And Sarah actually showed us the drawing of what that injury looked like that was shown in the report. And when they asked the medical examiner if that was, intentional, she said it was. So again, I mean, if it was I don't know, for it to be 2.5 inches wide, that's pretty crazy. And for it to be gaping and go all the way to the sternum and through, it was the right ventricle of the heart, I believe. Yeah, the wound perforated both the chest bone and the sac that surrounds the heart, the pericardium, and penetrated the right ventricle of the heart. Because the knife wound was through the heart, Ventura told the jury that she removed the heart and studied it. She noted that the wound was oval-shaped and 2 inches in length, describing it as gaping. Ventura told the jury that knives can make two types of wounds, wounds shaped like a slit and wounds shaped like an oval. Austin's was shaped like an oval. She said the path of the wound went through the cartilage of the sternum, penetrated the heart and the right ventricle, and completely went through the heart wall. And this is probably why they asked the parents to leave. And then when the dad wasn't leaving, that's probably why the prosecutor said, no, you need to go, because they were going to show photos. And it's your son, and seeing a heart no longer in a body is somebody who taught cadaver labs and was in a million cadaver labs, performed surgery on them. The first time around when you start to see things like this, it's different. Let's see. Under the law, as an educator, you're required to provide a duty of care. If a child gets hurt in your classroom and you are outside in the hallway, you are negligent and would be fired, is all. Oh, yes. Oh, Death Valley, that's a really good point. So I know that they were talking about like coaches not being present. Like, I know that was a conversation in the courtroom, and knowing where your track teammates were. So that is a good point, actually. But I just don't think, I don't know if Austin's parents would sue. I don't think they would, but you never know. I personally think Karmelo needed better role models. I don't know anything about his parents. I've heard a lot of like not so phenomenal things, but I don't know for sure. I have not dug on their background. I know what most of you guys have told me and what I've just, read and heard around. Definitely seems like his ego got crushed over being asked to leave. For sure. And again, I mean, it all comes back to the point of you're asked more than once by several people. So can you really sit here and be like, oh, just like Austin was such an aggressor? Because Austin wasn't the only person who asked. And at first it was like, who are you? What are you doing here? Does anyone know this person? Like they asked, like, hey, does anyone know this guy? And nobody took up for him, including the person that he recognized of why, why he supposedly was even under there to begin with. So again, I mean, I don't know. Well, what do you say about that? It's not a good look. So we'll see how long it takes for the jury to come back with a verdict. I don't really think it's going to take that long personally, but there was another video that she put up. I'm trying to find it. Let me see if I could find it. Hold on 2 seconds, guys. Hold on. All right. We are back for a second. Okay, let me see. I'm trying to see if I could find you guys. Let's just see what you guys are saying first. Austin, dad was defending Carmelo in the beginning. Austin's dad was? No excuses for Carmelo. He has two parents at home, and clearly he wasn't raised right. I mean, there's a lot of shoulda, coulda, wouldas. We're here now. I don't think any parent would be okay with their kid keeping a knife in the backpack to bring to school if they knew or allowed that shame. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't allowed to have stuff like that when I was in high school. I wasn't allowed to touch anything like that, none of that. So, I don't know. But things are very different now. So, it's, different world, different times. Uh Sometimes everything can be done right and kids still go out. So that's a good point. And I brought this up the other day. I said, listen, you can raise your kid right. You could do all the right things. When they go out the door, they make their own decisions. And you hope that you did enough to where they make the right choices. Unfortunately, my dad used to say mistakes and accidents are called mistakes and accidents for a reason. Sometimes they have really big consequences, but you can't follow your kids around everywhere they go. So you do what you can, you do the best you can, and you hope that when you're not around, they make the right decisions of where they go, who they hang out with, so on and so forth. But you can't, you know, you only have so much control. When there's a will, there's a way. We've all been in that position. Believe me, there was a meme that was going around. I wonder if I could bring it up because it was so funny. I sent it to a friend because it was hilarious. I'm gonna see if I could find it so I could bring it up here because it was too good. It would make you guys laugh. I just have to find it. Hmm. I sent it to somebody. Where did I send it? You guys would laugh. But no, I have to have it somewhere. Where did I put it? It was so funny. Sorry guys, I'm like trying to find this cuz I know you guys would laugh. It's probably in text messages with Kristen because her and I send each other funny stuff back and forth all the time. So I'm going to check there because I bet you that's where it is. Somewhere in there. Maybe not. But, back then, I mean, I used to all the time, like, oh, I'm sleeping over at so and so's house. And when you're a teenager, you go somewhere else, or, it's not the best thing, but it's just what you do when you're a teenager and you don't think anything of it. And I can't tell you, like, there was a couple times where, I did that. And I remember one time I ended up at a party with one of my friends, and I'm like, oh, like, I had a bad feeling. I'm like, we should go, we should go, we should go. And my friend in high school is like, no, no, no. Like, we're at this party and, like, we're hanging out with a little bit of older kids and, like, whatever. And I remember a girl did drugs and had a bad reaction to the drug and had a seizure on the floor. Um, and in my head, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, we got to leave. And I remember the next day being really anxiety ridden because I'm like, what if something bad happened to me and my parents get a call that, like, I'm all the way in, like, Elgin, Illinois at a house party. I'm 16, 17 years old and I'm hanging out with 21-year-old, like, you know what I mean? 21-year-olds, like, my parents are going to, you know what I mean? Kill me. But you don't think that something bad's going to happen to you. And then you're watching, you know what I mean? Something happened to someone else. And it just, you know what I mean? It made me scared to continue to lie about where I was going because my parents always used to say, if something happens to you, we're going to turn around and say, hey, she was sleeping over at Molly's house. You know what I mean? So don't lie. We have to know what to tell the authorities if you don't turn up where you last were. And I don't know. I was always very scared because I was just one of those kids. I was scared of all the bad stuff. I just stuck to sports and I don't know, I didn't get into trouble. Let's see. You're correct. He wasn't actually defending Carmelo, but he was very kind about it. Um, I was a Boy Scout, and I remember we took a class and kept a pocket knife for camping, but never allowed to bring it anywhere else. Yeah, exactly. Judging by his parents' actions, Carmelo acted. I don't know anything about his parents to speak to that. The culture of teens right now is attributing to things like this. I think you are always seeing teen takeovers on the news. It's like children of the corn out here now. Yeah, we actually had like an alert about a mall over here, like a teen takeover of the mall. The kids were like threatening to like take over the mall and do all kinds of illegal, crazy stuff. Remember, kids act one way around their parents and another way around their friends, and they end up becoming someone who's in between the two. We all know that as adults now for sure. I mean, yeah, I might have been, but not really. But I had a very good my family, it was just so different. That's all I can say is it was very different. I didn't feel the need to really hide stuff from my parents. I told my parents everything. I just never wanted to be in a situation where I put myself in a predicament and yeah, I don't know, but my parents were like I knew if I was in trouble and I told them something that was bad, like I'm going to get in trouble, but never afraid enough to not tell them the truth if that makes sense. Um and again, my parents kept us busy. I was in dance, every kind of dance you could think of, ballet, tap. I did ballet all the way through college. Um, I was in softball. I played tennis. I used to go golfing. I was in a bowling league. I mean, there was not a sport us kids didn't. We were so busy with sports and schoolwork. Our parents kept us so busy with sports. It was crazy. My parents coached. My dad would coach and my mom would work the concession stand. So like if we were at softball and baseball, our parents were at the field because dad's coaching and mom's working the concessions with my aunt. My other uncle, my dad's brother is coaching another team for my cousins. We lived at the baseball fields for like ever. So they kept us busy. And I think when you keep your kids constantly busy, it kind of helps. But I mean, it seems like Carmelo was busy. He played football. He was in track. He was supposedly a very good student. So how he got to this, I mean, it's sad. I think sports actually develops the consequence for your actions in students. That's why they're so important, in my opinion, too. Yeah, I loved that I played sports. I actually think it's even important as adults. Like my brother, he's 34 and he plays on a softball league. Till this day. My cousins and my brothers, they go golfing every like couple weeks, during like the nicer seasons because Chicago, it's not warm all year round. So I think it's good to have, like, even as an adult, like, have something along those lines to keep you active. And, obviously with kids it's hard, but it's still good to have. Hello from France. Hello, hello. So I checked. Sarah has not updated anything yet. My guess is she will do that later tonight. So, like I said, we're going to hop off here and we will plan to go live tomorrow. I will post, let me just see what the deal is. Hold on, because they're going to be, I'm guessing tomorrow it would start at 9 a.m., is my guess, since they're, let's see, Tuesday morning, 9 a.m. for closing arguments. So 9 a.m. Texas time in Florida, I think is 10 a.m. So maybe I'll go live around like noon or 1. Maybe we'll do, because I want to give time for the updates to get going so we have things to talk about. Otherwise, we're just like sitting here. So let's go with like probably 1 just to see and give the time for things to come in. Somewhere between 12:30 and 1 tomorrow. And what we'll do is I will check Sarah Fields for updates. And what we'll do tomorrow is we'll probably go through her update of today because she takes her own notes. They're thorough. They're really good. And then after that, hopefully we'll have an update on what the closing arguments are. And we could talk a little bit about what we thought of closing arguments and, deliberation and all that stuff and go from there. So we'll do that. And, all I can say is I will say this, regardless of right or wrong and indifferent, nobody won here. 2 families are impacted here. One, their child is never coming back. The other made a horrific choice that now has to face the consequences for it. Unfortunately, what's really sad is when you have somebody who had everything going for them. It's, you know what I mean? He had good grades. He was an athlete. 1,000 things that he could have did with his young life. And this is no longer going to be the case anymore. So it's all sad. It's all sad. And all you can hope for is that this family gets justice and that Karmelo learns a lesson from this. And pray for the families and pray for pray for healing, and that's all you can do. And for those of you that have kids, all people can do is take this and learn from it and just be more present, be more intentional with your kids. That's how you mold them and shape them. The iPad doesn't do that. The screen time doesn't do that. Too many video games doesn't do that. When I was younger, we played like Donkey Kong and like Aladdin and like Mario, on Nintendo 64. It was like the best thing ever. I actually have like the Nintendo 64 with like all the games loaded on it. And I always play Donkey Kong or one of those because it's just like very nostalgic. But the bottom line is we didn't have Halo and Counter-Strike and these violent games that, kids are exposed to now. Grand Theft Auto. And so you have desensitized kids who see nothing wrong with violence because these video games are full of it. People get bored, they hand them an iPad. It's just, having kids is a sacrifice and it takes work and energy. And that's why I don't have them, because I just feel like I'm not ready for that. So I just am not in a rush to do that. And if it's God's will, I'll be a mom one day. And if it's not, I won't. But I think it's worse to rush into something and know, hey, my head's not in the game for this, and then not raise a child that is a decent human and then blame everybody but myself. I think we have a lot of that going on in the world, and it's just not fair. It's not fair to the kids. It's not fair to anybody else. I played sports too, football, wrestling, and baseball, and I was scared to death that you would get kicked off the team for being where you shouldn't be. But I graduated in 1984 too. Yeah. I mean, I graduated high school in 2007, and we still were like that, Let's see. My first time catching you live. Great show. Thank you. Welcome. I'm so glad that you were able to make it. My first time too. Great show. Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate all of you. I just got here, so I missed the whole show. Sorry for that, but I often watch your videos on TPUSA, etc. Welcome, welcome. It's okay. You can watch the replay. I appreciate all of you guys being here and taking part in the live. It was really nice to talk about this case and just the trial and what's going on. Again, I want to end it on a positive note, which is, we have to do better as a whole, and mistakes happen. People can change, people can grow from things. It's not, a defining moment all the time, but that's up to the person. And, we need to be kinder and more understanding in certain instances and less divided as a whole. And I think that this case has a lot of unfair, I don't even know what the word is I'm looking for right now. I just think there's been a lot of nastiness surrounding it. Instead of taking something at face value, again, acting on emotions and running on emotions versus facts and reality. And I think it makes a huge difference. So with that being said, I'm going to let you guys go. Like I said, tomorrow we'll be back for closing statements or arguments and going through an update on testimony from today. And then from there, we will see how quick we get a verdict in. I'm guessing we'll have that in a couple of days, but we shall see. All right, guys, take care. Have a good rest of your Monday. Get some rest, spend time with your loved ones. And I will see you guys all tomorrow. Oh, I forgot to Esoterica 44, thank you so much for becoming a member of the channel. I appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you. I always try to, well, I forget. There's several different memberships for the channel. If you guys want to become members, it's just a way to support the work. If you want to, you don't have to. Obviously, merch is, the link is in the description for merch. That's another way. If you don't want memberships, there are also, people always ask for Cash App and Venmo. That's linked in bio as well. Memberships have all different tiers. It's just exclusive content, additional content. The highest tier that's newest is the gold membership, and that's just going to also give you access to 2 members only lives a month. And what's nice about that is I will ask you guys about what you guys want to talk about, and we will talk about things that you guys want to talk about, and I'll research into certain things. And we'll have all kinds of different things that we talk about in there. So, all right, with that being said, I hope you guys have a good rest of your day. I better go cook dinner. I will see you guys all tomorrow. Take care.